Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the people in Texas we just lost. If you don't mind. Okay, thanks. Before I get started, I'd like to also, I got a change in agenda. I had a economic development target area was under new business. It should have been under old business. So I had that change. I believe we talked about it last month. So, okay. Today is Monday, November 6, 2017. The time is 7 p.m. And the regular meeting of the Greensburg City Council is called to order. At this time, please silence electronic devices. Chief Darrell. So, to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. At this time, I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Violet McKenzie. Here. Kevin Fleetwood.
Present.
Darren Covington.
Here.
Darrell Poling.
Here.
Jamie Kane will be out this evening.
Okay. Everyone should have received the October 2nd, 2017 minutes. Has everybody had time to read over those? Is there any amendments to the minutes? Not hearing any. Can I have approval to pass the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Abstain. Oh, well, that's- Okay. Old business, let's go with the economic development target area. Dr. Wellage. Waggle. Wrong W.
Whoops.
Ruh-roh.
He's the guy I go see.
Unforgettable. I'm telling you.
Yeah, start with it then.
That was fun. Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, and members of the City Council, earlier this evening, the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission held a special meeting with creating an economic development area, economic development target area. You all have a map, I think, in front of you with two proposed areas, both right off of Michigan Road. That was a unanimous recommendation of the committee that was their proposal for that. After a little discussion, we passed the motion and had a unanimous vote on the motion to pass, so the Redevelopment Commission has these two areas for economic development.
Any questions?
Just a comment, I do want to say thank you to the Redevelopment Commission for making this recommendation and for having your special meeting tonight, and to the committee for getting this done. I think this was very important to our development in that area, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Weigel.
So, I wasn't here last month. Which map is right now?
This map right here.
This one right here.
This was an initial one that started all the conversations, and that developed into, this is the one that was set for the redevelopment commission that they sent forward with positive recommendation.
Those two lots.
Yes.
Okay, next step.
Chris?
Based upon statute, the fiscal body then would then pass a resolution to identify those properties as a target area for tax abatement purposes or by statute. I think the intent for our purposes of retail business would be eligible then for the tax abatement. We still go through the tax abatement process. These areas would then be the where they would be eligible to make that application.
So
So I think by the governing body would then just pass that by resolution.
So would we be able to make a motion tonight without the written resolution?
Yes, I have one drafted. I can circulate that then to have signatures.
it'll be first reading tonight, and next council meeting we will sign.
Correct.
Okay, with all that said, need a motion?
Just,
Okay.
so the purpose of this is so that a retail establishment could get a tax abatement.
Correct. Because there are certain type of businesses that are excluded unless an EDTA is established. So the retail is one of them.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
I'll make a motion then that we pass this on first reading, and would you say it's contingency would be signing, or with the understanding of signing the
Written resolution.
written resolution at a later date?
A second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, so, is there anything else we need to do, Chris? Okay. Kathy? Need a second reading, final reading on ordinance 2017-21, animal control ordinance.
Sorry about that. Yes, does anyone have any questions regarding the ordinance that would allow up to 4 chickens and a coop of the size of 36 square feet and a run area 36 square feet? The setbacks would be 20 feet off the neighbor's property line for the location of the coop.
Okay, this was passed under the first reading to get it to this point. We was wanting to see if anybody had any other contact with people who reference the chickens and the rabbits out in your areas.
I have had some telephone calls, for and against. The other thing that I just kind of wanted to bring up tonight, I know Jamie is not here. Obviously, he's traveling for his job, and he kind of spearheaded or was responsible for the putting the chicken ordinance into motion. And of course, this ordinance includes a lot more than the chicken issue. But I really would like Jamie to be a part of this conversation. But I would be open to listening. I know there's some in the audience tonight that came to speak specifically to this ordinance, and I'd be happy to listen to them. But as far as making a final decision, I would like Jamie to be a part of that, if it pleases the other council.
I had one constituent reach out to me in support of the ordinance. He's actually here in the audience. I don't know if he's going to speak today or not. I wasn't here last month, unfortunately. I didn't get to hear the discussion. I would be curious to hear what Jamie has to say, since it was his idea to withdraw.
Right, and you also had mentioned to me that you was interested in hearing what others had to say, and that's kind of what why I would like to see this, the final decision tabled until next meeting.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm fine with tabling, but I'd also like to, if there's anybody here to speak to it, I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Right. I think that would help us with our decision. That's good, Mayor.
Is that, yeah, that'd be fine with me. I had several calls against it, so I'm kind of wanting to hear what the guys have to say for it, or against it. So is there anybody out there? Come on up. Would you state your name? I know you, but go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Donna Stevens, and I live at 702 Park Road. And I've known the mayor we grew up across the street from each other. And I just wanted to mention, as a child, we used to be able to go to Murphy's and buy chickens. At that time, they were allowed to color them, and we would bring them home, and our grandmother would let us keep them in the house in a big cardboard box. And when they got so big, they would go to a farmer, or so we were told. But as I said, this has been a few years ago. And I was the one who contacted Kathy several months ago and was asking about the chicken ordinance. And she said, well, currently you're not allowed to have any. And I said, okay, so I contacted Jamie, went over and sat on his front porch, as a matter of fact, and discussed this at length. And I asked him, I said, why should we not be allowed when urban farming is becoming more and more a part of everyday life, especially in metropolitan communities? Fox News back, I don't know, June or July, had an article on there where, I think it's in Fishers or Greenwood anyway, a very high scale area is allowed chickens, up to 12, and I think possibly a rooster. Now, if an upscale community like that can allow chickens, then I'm not quite sure what the deal is for Greensburg, who is considered we're a rural farming community, folks. We have a farmer's market, which I think we all enjoy. Farmers bring us the eggs, and if someone wants to go to the time and trouble and the expense of purchasing a few chickens, I don't see the issue, because they can't, they're not like my neighbors who have pit bulls that I have to worry about attacking my grandchildren. They're not barking at all hours of the day and night. So, and they're going to provide me with the eggs that I would like to have that, it's kind of hard to get in the wintertime unless we have the farmer's market again, which I haven't heard about. And if they don't produce the eggs, then I'm going to invite them to supper. So, but I understand there's concerns, I understand. I watched last month's video, where the gentleman was here, says he has a neighbor, and I find this kind of odd, because he said, this neighbor, and here again, I've been told we're not supposed to have them, but a neighbor of his has multiple chickens with roosters. But when someone goes to check on this, they're not to be found, because supposedly they're in the house. Now, if you know anything about chickens or roosters, now roosters get a little testy, and you just don't herd them up quickly and, and put them in the house, and you don't want them in the house very long. You're going to have a real mess on your hands. So I'm not quite sure, why other neighbors, if these are such a problem, aren't complaining. And if you're calling these people, ahead of time saying, hey, we're going to come and check out your chicken population, why are you, go knock on the doors of the other neighbors. If one neighbor's, got a beef with them, maybe the other neighbors do too. Or somebody's lying through their teeth. There's no two ways about it. So, and I talked to Darrell, as I said, I talked to Jamie at length. I really don't understand why this, people should be, up in arms about it. And if you live in, one of the nicer subdivisions, I would think that, your covenants are going to protect those that, that don't want chickens in the backyard. I've got a 3-acre field. I could have a whole lot of chickens if I wanted, but I'm fine with 6 chickens. And I say 6 because if you go to Rural King, there is a minimum purchase of 6. So I know, you're currently looking at 4. I would like to see 6, because there again, if it's passed, I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. If you tell me I can only have 4, but, Rural King says, well, we can't sell you but 6. So, but, I'm okay with that. And I'm not gonna go to the time and expense to shelter these birds, not to take care of them. It doesn't make good sense. But as I said, I'm a responsible property owner. I have owned dogs. I have taken care of them. I've always followed the rules, and but it's like anybody. We know people that are pet owners that don't take care of them. So, but I'm just, and I know there's others that, would like to see this happen too. So I just ask that you give this some consideration. And I know, there's as Darrell mentioned earlier, there was there's some teeth involved in the new animal ordinance. And I'm okay with, playing by the rules. But, and I think there are a few others here tonight that are hoping that this will be something that you can give some serious consideration to and pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it. Okay, is there anybody else out there? Oh, come on up.
I don't do this sort of thing very often. My name is Michael Durflinger. I live at 310 West 4th High Street, and I don't see anything wrong with the chickens either. Let me get my paper right here, so don't forget half of this stuff. I don't see anything wrong with chickens. It's not the noise. The barking dog makes more noise than chickens. And there's one good thing about the chickens. Let's see. They're all in bed right now. They're not clucking, they're not doing nothing. The dogs will be up when I get home, barking their heads off all night. Let's see. I don't know if there's any kids that like to have them for 4-H. Nothing wrong with that. What have I got to tell a kid on my street? He says, why can't I have a chicken? Well, some old dude at the meeting said, no, you can't have them because we don't like them. Well, I couldn't put a good example for our children. But I know it isn't much, but I just want to throw it in free of charge. I'm bored of chickens. As long as they're not making any noise, staying in their own yard, things like that, I don't have any trouble with them. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Sure.
Brent Lee, 132 South Franklin. Don't touch the mic, guys. Sorry about that, Your Honor and Counsel. I will predict that eventually the city of Greensburg will allow chickens. It's a big national movement to get closer to your food, and it's something a lot of folks are looking at. And a lot of the large cities have kind of led the way, been the progressives on this. So eventually I think it will happen here. It's kind of whether we want to be on the front of the trend or behind. I have no plans to raise any chickens anytime soon. I'm too busy. I don't building my business. I don't have the time for it. But eventually, I'll probably may want to, and I think that people ought to be able to. The local economy is great right now, but that'll change. It's cyclical, and chickens are a great way for those who are income challenged, I think, in our community, to provide a really healthy, affordable source of protein for themselves and their family. So that's something we should consider too. Further, I think the egg trade really fosters better neighboring. I remember as a kid growing up on 400 North outside of town, didn't have any chickens, but we would go buy eggs from Mrs. Grody out on State Road 3. And I loved going to Mrs. Grody's with my mom because she would make change out of her little butter bowl and give me a nickel or a penny usually to put in my pocket after she was done. And it made for better neighboring. And I think we can all agree that in these times that knowing our neighbors and talking to our neighbors is probably a good thing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so there we go.
Can I ask one question of Ron and Kathy, or Ron or Kathy? Right now, they're not allowed. Have you had any complaints from people about them right now?
I'm not touching the mic. Yes, and I turned one over to Mr. Tebby as well. That was the one that they were running free outside, and evidently the homeowner has put them inside or got rid of them. That we don't know, because when we go investigate, you know, we can only go so far without trespassing. So from what we could see, they were gone. So we send a notice to inform them that they're in violation and give them, you know, like 10 days to respond to our letter. And after that 10 days, if we hear nothing, then we turn it over to Mr. Tebby. But yes, in the past 4 months, I'd have to say I received 4 complaints.
And what were they complaining about?
Running free.
Running free.
And there's several, not just, you know, 4 to 6, but several.
Were those 4 complaints from the same
No.
residents or different residents?
Different residents.
For what it's worth, in approximately 2 years that I was with the city before Kathy came back, I don't recall any complaints about chickens. I do recall one inquiry if they were permitted.
I have to say, speaking of inquiries, since this has come about, I've received several and had to have pass out the ordinance where it talks about that they're not allowed in the area a few times. So I'd say under 10, but you know, it's more than frequent now since this has come about.
So, if under the proposed ordinance, somebody had 10 chickens, how would we enforce it? To say you can only have 4?
They would get a letter, more than likely, we would generate a letter indicating that they're in violation. And then if nothing is done, then Mr. Tebby would have to turn it over again to Mr. Tebby. That's the only type of enforcement we have.
So, fine them, I suppose, right?
The monetary fine is part of the ordinance, correct?
Unless Brendan wants to go track them down and it'd be a chicken run or something like that.
Okay.
That section's part of the fines of the code.
And then if they don't pay the fine,
And legal action like any other code violation. Potential legal action like any other code violation.
Then if they don't pay that, then it becomes a lien onto their property or judgment.
we would never probably ever foreclose on that kind of work. It would be worth our time and effort.
True.
Kind of goes hand in hand with the mowing of yards and refrigerators on front porches, and you know, you try your best to enforce the ordinance, but of course that's part of Kathy's job description.
Yes, it is.
Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, it's not to say that it can't be changed. I mean, if it gets out of hand, right? Just change it.
You mean change it back to not allowed?
Not a lot at all. But, I mean, evidently that's, you know, not working, basically. If there's somebody that's got chicks in their house. But at least it's some control. You know, have some control, and you've got it down that you can't, like, right now, they say you can't have any. And somebody's got 20. You know, you have documented that you can only have 4. It's easier to go and say, hey, you're only allowed to have 4. But it can be changed, and if it gets out of hand, it's, and we have, you know, chickens running around all over town, then it's changed, right?
So, Chris, are we tabling? Go ahead.
If I remember right from reading the ordinance where we're proposing this, was it the lot width of 40 feet, Kathy?
An average, in the older parts of town, and when I say the older parts of town, you're talking about the downtown and like a 6-block radius, so to speak. The average size lots are 40 by 160. You go, the further out you go, then they get a little bigger, anywhere from 60 to 75, et cetera.
Do we have any lots in town that are narrower than 40 feet?
Very few.
Okay. The only reason I was bringing it up is if we have it in the ordinance, like if you're under the 40-foot width, you're not allowed, is that a concern? Are we?
I mean, even if they do have a 40-foot lot and the setback is 20 feet, they're gonna have to get a variance.
Okay.
So, I mean, if they're even smaller, they're still gonna have to get a variance. And hopefully, you know, sanitation and cleaning process, you know, to make the smell not as broad as, you know, being right on top of it, so to speak. I mean, like I said before, I have chickens and you get closer to them, yes, they do smell, but, you know, we try to keep ours clean as possible, so.
So we're gonna table it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table our discussion and decision to the December meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Is there any other discussion in this ordinance? I mean, we talked about chickens, but have you looked at the dogs and the rabbits and all that kind of stuff too in here?
I thought everything else was in line. I didn't have any issues with anything.
Okay. It is, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we'll table until next month. Okay. Okay, on to new business. Ashlee?
First thing that I have for you is ordinance 2017-24. From my understanding, and Brendan can probably help some with this, the county is implementing a public safety tax, which the city will receive a portion of.
It says tax, but it should be fund.
So I basically just need to set up this ordinance to be able to set up establish the income tax for the public safety fund. So we can basically set up that line item.
So,
This is a county tax? Is it been determined what percentage of that tax will be paid to the city?
I was told like 500 and some thousand, Brendan, when were you told like 700?
It's still somewhat confusing to me too. I've been on the phone with Senator Perfect's office, with the county auditor and all that. At the last county council meeting, they introduced this public safety tax, which could be capped at 0.25, and that's what they did cap it at, was the 0.25. We did receive information from Unball that I believe the city should receive around 500 and some thousand, and we were initially told that the county would get 492,000. Talked to the auditor today, and I believe she gave me a different amount that she thought the county was going to receive. And that, I also did talk to Unball, and starting January 1, 2018, again, we don't have the figures. I think that's probably going to be set maybe closer towards this next county council meeting. We'll be able to figure out what funds will be available to the city. But once that does occur, then we should begin receiving monies from the clerk, or from the auditor's office to the clerk's office to put into this public safety fund. Like I said, we do have to adopt a appropriation line item to go into, and there are stipulations on what that money can be used for, which of course is public